Former Ohio State edge rusher Jack Sawyer admitted that winning a national title last season erased the pain of losing to Michigan. If you remember, in a very, very tenuous moment, Ohio State was upset at home by Michigan for the 4th year in a row. They lost to Michigan. It was a 7-5 Michigan team. Michigan then wanted to plant the M flag at Ohio State's midfield logo. Ohio State players wouldn't let them. They were so upset. They were so frustrated. It put Ryan Day's seat on it made it extremely hot. It led to an Ohio lawmaker trying to pass a law banning flag planting in stadiums. They were so upset about it. This rivalry got very serious. Okay. And then after all of that, Ohio State went on to win the national title. When they were left for dead, Tennessee filled up Columbus because fans were so unhappy about the state of Ohio State after that. But here's what Sawyer said on Football and with Ben Roethlisberger. He said, winning a national championship, he said, that takes no emphasis off how important the game is, the game being Ohio State, Michigan. He says, but when you win a national championship, if anyone tells you they'd rather go 1-12 and just beat the team up north, you're crazy. You're playing this game to win championships. And make no mistake about it, no one wants to beat those guys more than we do. But at the end of the day, there's nothing we could have done about that. I mean, we have our shot to go chase the ultimate goal, which is to win a national championship. Guys, Jack Sawyer is 1,000% right. And it's not his fault. But this is what an expanded playoff has done to college football. An expanded playoff has totally devalued rivalry games. Because he basically said, I don't really care that we lost the 4th straight year to Michigan. We got to go win a national title. Now, Alabama in 2017 lost to Auburn and then went and won the national title. That was a rarity. Tennessee did lose to Florida in 97 and played for what could have been the national title and won the SEC title. These things happen. That's a part of the sport. You don't want it to be that common, though. And here's the problem. That Michigan-Ohio State game, that's not the first time that's going to happen. Okay? That's going to be a common thing now because the college football playoff is expanded and it's totally devalued the regular season. I bring this up all the time. The greatest spectacle in the history of college football, to me, the greatest spectacle in the history of sports was the Kick 6 Alabama-Auburn game in 2013, where Alabama is a 2-time defending national champion and Auburn beats them because Chris Davis fields a missed field goal by Alabama as time expires with the score tied, and he runs it back for a touchdown the other way in one of the greatest moments in sports history. That game would be irrelevant in today's landscape of college football. Completely irrelevant because both teams would be going to the playoff and nobody would care. You don't want those games to be irrelevant like that, guys. That's the biggest problem. Yes, sometimes it happens. Sometimes you luck out and get rematches like 2011 Alabama LSU because the dominoes fall. But you don't want it to be a regular thing. You don't want it to matter so little. And now these regular season games matter so little because of what happened. So I'm going to put it up on the poll question. Okay. The expanded CFP devaluing rivalries is terrible for the sport or a necessary evil, or how about this? It's terrible for the sport or no big deal, more playoff games outweigh it. So that's going to be my question, okay? How about this? The expanded CFP devaluing rivalries is terrible for the sport or no big deal, more playoff games outweigh it. You guys let me know about that, okay? And I'm going to add this. The expanded CFP devaluing regular season rivalry games like Ohio State, Michigan. All right, there we go. You guys let me know on the poll question. I've put it up now. The expanded CFP devaluing regular season rivalry games like Ohio State, Michigan is terrible for the sport, No big deal. More playoff games outweigh it. Guys, I think it's terrible for the sport. I think it's absolutely terrible. This is the one thing college football had over any other sport. And you guys can't come to me about, well, look at the NFL with the Cowboys and Washington and the Commanders, and that's a rivalry, or whatever, this team and this team, that's a rivalry, and then the playoffs still matter. Or how about baseball with the Yankees and the Red Sox? No. College football was different because you knew these rivalry games would carry magnitude every single year because there was no expanded playoff. Don't give me Duke UNC in basketball. I don't really watch Duke UNC in basketball unless they both have multiple 5-star recruits and they're going to the NBA, and I want to see them face each other in college to see what we might be looking at, okay? College football is different. These rivalry games matter to the most extreme degree. And the expanded playoff devaluing something like Ohio State, Michigan has absolutely ruined the sport. Okay, it has. I know that's crazy to say, but it's absolutely ruined the sport, and it's not going to bring in new fans because the uniqueness of college football was they made every game matter so much. Okay, and I got to be honest, Jack Sawyer, it's a what the H moment, but you can't blame him. And he adds, by the way, he goes further. Sawyer said the ultimate goal, you play to win championships. Then he said, and like in the NFL, you lose 4 games in a regular season, you're probably the 1 overall seed in the playoff. And he said, so that's kind of the approach we took, especially with the expanded playoff. I think it's going to continue to be like that. Obviously, the game is still going to be the game because it is the game, the best rivalry in sports. But I think at the end of the day, I think you'd be crazy to say you would rather beat them and not win a national championship instead of win a national championship and not beat them. In a perfect world, you do both of those things. But obviously, we didn't. But winning a national championship kind of erases all that. For me, it does. Yeah, no, he said it erases it. Again, I don't blame Jack Sawyer. He's saying the dead, cold, hard truth. It's just a truth that is really, really, really bad for college football. Sawyer, by the way, was drafted by the Pittsburgh Steelers with the 4th round, the 123rd overall pick. This is a bad look. Adam, I'm going to address what you said because you say we want college football to be exactly like the NFL, except for when it comes to having a playoff system. I don't want it to be like the NFL at all. I've never wanted it to be like the NFL. Okay, I'm not against uniform rules with college versus the NFL in terms of actual rules on the field, but I don't want college football to be like the NFL. And I've never really been big on it being like the NFL. That doesn't mean there's certain things that it can't be like the NFL in, i.e. how players are paid, unions, things like that, rules on the field. But come on, I'm just not a fan of. I don't want it to be like the NFL. Derek says, college football has went retrograde. Just look at the constant topic of discussions. Yes, and he said devalue a rivals game to hype up and a bum out of conference matchup. I mean, yes. I think that's kind of what's happening now. General Ursus adds, I personally think the playoffs are terrible in general. Get rid of it and reestablish the BCS. Better yet, go back to the days of the AP voting for the national championship. General Ursus, I actually fully agree. Don't even go back to the BCS standard. Here's what you do. Here's how you make college football great and perfect. The concept of the BCS was great, but I would do it in a different way. Have all the teams play bowl games and have bowl tie-ins, by the way. The SEC team always goes to the Sugar Bowl. The Big Ten and old Pac-12 or whatever always went to the Rose Bowl. First of all, bring back the old conferences. And just have all the bowl tie-ins. No BCS 1 versus 2 game. Have all the bowl tie-ins. And then after the bowl games are played, treat that like a de facto regular season game. And then you rank 1 and 2 and you have them play in a +1 format. Boom. That's how I would do it. And I honestly would make it matter like that. Randy says you're missing the point. Rivalries are more important locally than nationally. Well, the reason they're so important, Randy, locally is because of the national or conference implications that happen to them. That's where I think these rivalries didn't develop out of thin air. That's how they developed. What the H brought to you by Double D Piping, fire protection contractors, providing around-the-clock service, protecting their customers' lives and properties all the time. DoubleDPiping.com.
Double D Piping provides full-service fire protection on any scale. From residential homes to government facilities, we can assist any customer through design, fabrication, installation, inspection, and demonstration of fire suppression systems. With 30 years of service across 5 states and a full staff with over 40 years experience, our quality can't be beat. Don't get caught watching what you could have prevented. Call Double D Piping.
The poll question, the expanded CFP devaluing regular season rivalry games like Ohio State, Michigan is terrible for the sport, 69%. No big deal. More playoff games outweigh it, 31%. Sorry, it's right. The 69% terrible for the sport. That's where I land on this, and I'm not going to back down. I stand strong on terrible for the sport. More playoff games do not outweigh it, guys, and the biggest reason is those playoff games last year sucked. Okay, it was terrible with the timing. You spread it out over a month because you have a week of games and a week off, then another week of games, and you try to put it around New Year's. That makes no sense. Here's what you can't accept, and here's what college football can't accept. They can't hold on to the traditions that we all love about the sport and have a playoff. The two can't coexist. Nick Saban had been bringing that up for a while in the past. You can't have those things coexist. You can't have the bowls. You can't have taking over of New Year's Day being so exciting. You can't have those things and an expanded playoff. You either do an expanded playoff where you just have a standard tournament week by week to week in December on Saturdays, or maybe even January, or you go back to the old system. And you may not like to hear that. You may hate it, but the expanded playoff does more to devalue this than anything. Okay. The expanded playoff has devalued college football September through November. It devalued college football on January in the bowl games. It devalued conference championship weekend in December. And also you could have 2 extra weeks of games in later December that resulted in a bunch of terrible games that were boring as heck. And by the way, nobody was watching the bowl games in general. And so honestly, taking all this into account, I am sorry. College football operated because it was hyper localized, and then the national implications were there from a hyper local sport. Now doing what they've done, they fully nationalized it, and that's going to destroy the sport long term. I don't think it's I genuinely don't think college football is headed towards the right place. And what Jack Sawyer said is deadly accurate. It's dead on, and it's terrible for the sport. You should have Ohio State should have a sense of, well, we won the national title, but we didn't beat Michigan. That sucks. They don't have that. They're like, you know what? We won the national title. And they're right to feel that. I would do the same thing if I were them. It's taking away, though, what we all loved about college football, and that's bad for the sport. I'm telling you, it's horrible.